Ray, if you are new to Singapore, you're probably wondering how this small city-state in Southeast Asia with a total land area measuring only 721.5 square kilometers and one of the youngest nations in the world became one of its most successful. The answer lies in a unique set of geography and history. Singapore's strategic location on the major sea route between India and China, its excellent harbour, and its free trade harbour status granted by its visionary founder Sir Thomas Stamford Raffles. However, while Sir Stamford Raffles created the framework for Singapore's early success, it was Singapore's former Prime Minister, the late Mr. Kuan Yew, who shaped the first quarter century of Singapore's existence as an independent nation and defined the path to its current success. What follows is a brief history of the country's origins from a colonial outpost to the developed nation that it is today. Mythical origins. Recent studies have verified that lions have never owned Singapore. However, the original legend was that a long time ago, a 14th century Sumatran prince spotted an auspicious beast upon landing on the island after a thunderstorm, which he was told was a lion. Thus, the name Singapore comes from the Malay word Singa for lion and Pura for city. Prior to European settlement, the island now known as Singapore was the site of a Malay fishing village and inhabited by several hundred indigenous Orang Lot people. The founding of modern Singapore in late 1818, Lord Hastings, the British Governor-General of India, appointed Lieutenant General Sir Stamford Raffles to establish a trading station at the southern tip of the Malay Peninsula. The British were extending their dominion over India and their trade with China was expanding. They saw the need for a port of call to refit, revitalize and protect their merchant fleet as well as to prevent any advances made by the Dutch in the East Indies. After surveying other nearby islands in 1819, Sir Stamford Raffles and the rest of the British East India Company landed on Singapore, which was to become their strategic trading post along the spice route. Eventually, Singapore became one of the most important commercial and military centers of the British Empire. The island was the third British acquisition in the Malay Peninsula after Penang 1786 and Malacca 1795. These three British settlements, Singapore, Penang and Malacca, became the Straits Settlements in 1826 under the control of British India. By 1832, Singapore became the center of government of the three areas. On 1 April 1867, the Straits Settlements became a crown colony and was ruled by a governor under the jurisdiction of the Colonial Office in London. Loosening Britain's stronghold, British forces surrendered Singapore to the Japanese forces in World War II. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill described this as the worst disaster and largest capitulation in British history. In the aftermath of the war, the country faced staggering problems of high unemployment, slow economic growth, inadequate housing, decaying infrastructure, labor strikes and social unrest. Nevertheless, it sparked a political awakening among the local population and saw the rise of anti-colonial and nationalist sentiments, as epitomized by the slogan Merdeka, which means independence in the Malay language. In 1959, Singapore became a self-governing state within the British Empire with Yusof bin Ishak as its first Yang Dipertuan Negara Malay for someone who is the eminent master of the state, and Lee Kuan Yew as its first and long-standing Prime Minister. He served until 1990. Before joining the Federation of Malaysia along with Malacca, Sabah and Sarawak, Singapore declared independence from Britain unilaterally in August 1963. 2 years later, in 1965, Singapore left the Federation of Malaysia after heated ideological conflicts arose between the Sing